columnist for the Washington Post, a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and a Fox News contributor. Mark, good to see you. Look, this is not a binding contract because it doesn't have what's called consideration, an exchange of benefits. So it's just an unenforceable promise. The question is, would Trump abide by it nevertheless? What do you think?
Oh, I think if he decided it wasn't in his interest, he'd bolt the Republican Party so fast it'd make your head spin. I mean, he's done it many times before. In the 1990s, he was a Republican. Then in 1999, he became an independent because the Republican Party was too far right, he said. Then in 2001, he became a Democrat and supported Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. Then in 2009, he became a Republican again. Then in 2011, he became an independent again. Now he's a Republican again. So, I mean, it makes your head spin how many times he's changed parties. So if it's Donald Trump's allegiance isn't to the Republican Party. Donald Trump's allegiance is to Donald Trump.
Well, you know, a lot of people, point well made, Mark, but a lot of people are wondering, you know, why is he signing it now? And they're suspicious of it. After all, before the August 6th debate on Fox News, he was ahead in the polls. Well, he's still ahead in the polls, which invites the question, what's changed? He refused to make the pledge then. Why now?
Because he sustained those polls, and I think he thinks he's going to be the Republican nominee. And look, he's at 30% in the national polls. He's leading in all the polls. But the specter of an independent bid was actually putting a ceiling on his support. You remember in that Fox News debate, he was booed by the crowd when he said he wouldn't give up the option of an independent run. There are Republicans out there who would not support him, and a third of the Republican Party says under no circumstances would they support Donald Trump. Yeah. There are people out there who wouldn't support him because he might run as an independent, because that would help Hillary. So he's trying to broaden his support by making this pledge, and it's in his interest to do so, and there's no downside.
Let's say he takes a drop in the polls precipitously, and that can certainly happen. And he doesn't start winning caucuses and primaries and so forth. And he decides to change his mind and move as an independent. He would certainly be criticized as a hypocrite, if not a liar, but wouldn't he just turn around and vilify the Republican National Committee and others?
Sure. Well, he's the arbiter of what, you know, he says he's doing this because he's been treated fairly. A few months from now, he could decide he's not been treated fairly, and therefore that's why he's doing it. I mean, he'll come up with an excuse to do whatever he needs, but he's just like on The Apprentice. He's the only judge. He gets to say to the GOP, you're fired, if he decides the Republicans are not being fair to him. But right now, he doesn't want to run as an independent because, one, he's leading in the polls. He thinks he can get the Republican nomination. Second of all, an independent bid would be very difficult and very expensive. I mean, he's running on free media right now. I mean, he just, you know, he sneezes and he gets free media coverage. He'd have to spend a lot of money, and it's not the path to the presidency. I mean, he's not interested in being Ross Perot. He's not interested in being Ralph Nader, a spoiler. He wants to be president of the United States, and he knows to do that, he needs to win the Republican nomination. And if he doesn't get it, he can always change his mind.
Well, you know, going back to '92, Ross Perot got enough votes to essentially take the presidency away from George Herbert Walker Bush and gave it to Bill Clinton. So how relieved do you think Reince Priebus and the RNC is right now, and other Republicans?
I don't think they should be terribly relieved because this means nothing. I think that if Donald Trump thinks that he's been treated unfairly and that he wants to run as an independent and thinks he can win as an independent, he would do it in a heartbeat. He is not, you know, pledging allegiance to the Republican Party and the principles for which it stands. He's pledging allegiance to Donald Trump's interests, and right now he's winning. So there's no reason for him to not pledge to be part of the Republican Party because he's the front runner for the Republican nomination, and he believes, based on how it's been going for the last month or so, that he can win it.
Pledge of allegiance to Donald Trump. I mean, that's a good one, Mark. I like that. Okay, thanks. Mark Thiessen, always great talking to you. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.